Hello and welcome to Cheshire Audio. Now today, this is part 2 of the Nottingham 294 episode. Part 1 was the unboxing, which is a bit of a feat in itself. I've just about crippled myself. I've had a day to recover, and today is the day of the build. I've actually got a cartridge to fit to it, and not quite sure where it's going to go yet because it's a bit major. So yeah, let's get everything together. As you can see, all the parts are all lined up on the floor there. I'm going to put them onto this table. Should do the job. I've just looked at the instructions. Yes, believe it or not, I did look at the instructions, and it says in quite bold type, please check that the table you're intending to fit the turntable onto is strong enough to take the weight. Yeah, well, it kind of said it all really, doesn't it? Right, the first thing to do is to put the base down. There's the base. I mean, this is just literally a stand. It's not really. It doesn't actually, the deck doesn't attach to this, it's just a base for it to sit on. And what you need to check is that if you check this is level, and then this will sit level because the feet are sort of equivalent all the way around, so it will sit level. It actually has a foot in the centre just to stop it bowing, which, yeah, okay. And the next thing to do is to put on the main part of the turntable, which underneath the feet are adjustable. This back foot, I think, is the one that doesn't adjust, and the front two are adjustable, so you can actually level them with the base. So move this around. It takes a bit of working out the positions because it's not really marked. Some of their decks actually have a slightly rough area where the feet goes. This one doesn't for some reason. They seem to vary a little bit. I think I would say we're about right there. Okay. Right, next thing we're doing, I was going to put some oil into the main bearing. So it comes with a bag of bits. If you're wondering why I haven't levelled this, it's because basically this deck isn't going to stay here, so when it actually finds the place it's going to stay permanently, I'll get it all levelled up properly. But basically there's the two adjustable feet, and you just find the level point. Usually when they come from the factory they actually level with the base anyway, so you don't really need to do anything, but just in case you're worried, because I know the internet worries. Okay. So the oil is very similar to Riga oil. I think it's possibly slightly thicker actually, slightly thinner. And the 294 needs 0.5 millilitre, I think. So look at that. I will actually prepare myself with a pair of glasses under. Yeah, there it is. So it's literally just that for the oil. And like with the Riga, I tend to let a little bit run down the sides as well. Some of the other decks use quite a bit more than this. I think the Hyperspace, which is a bigger bearing than this, it's about 1.5 mil on that, I think. Not 1.5. Yeah, I think it's about. I can't think how much it is now. So it's probably twice as much as that anyway. It's quite a lot bigger bearing. Okay. So now that means we can actually fit the platter. Oh. You have to be quite careful with this because the actual weight of this is quite difficult to manoeuvre it, so I tend to position the end first, straighten it up, and try not to trap your fingers underneath. There. Right. Now if you watched the unpacking video, I was very confused because I couldn't find the HD kit in the box because I assumed that it comes as a separate thing. The HD kit is the heavy kit, which comprises of a heavyweight mat and an extension bar for the armboard to bring the height, because the mat is taller. This needs to come up as well. What I hadn't noticed when I was doing it, I don't know why I didn't notice because I've built these before, was that the HD kit is already fitted, and the HD kit is actually this part. So there's that's your standard platter for a 294, the HD kit. It's a strange material. It's like a sort of composite of something, but it's not quite metal, and it's not plastic, and it's not I'm not quite sure what it is, but it's heavy. Heavy and very dead. There's a little adapter that comes with the kit. I sit that on the top. So if you're upgrading to HD kit, you just fit the platter, then there's a big spacer under the armboard, and you just lift your armboard up, and there you go. No mat on these. This material is actually, is designed to take a record. The little groove is because the album sits inwards of the platter. It's actually smaller than the diameter of the platter, so you need a little groove just to be able to get your fingers under. And I'm out of breath. Might just switch the camera off for a second, I'll just get my breath back. Right, next thing to do is to sort the platter out. The mystery rubber bands now sort of come into play. What I might do is just move the camera a little bit just to show. Look at the edge of the platter. We've got some fairly major grooves in here, including the two grooves where the drive belt runs. If I put this back, so I can actually do it and show you what the bands are for. So the idea of these bands is, well, they've got two jobs actually. One is that they call them damping rings. Just put that through that. That's one. Oops. Well, tied in a knot. And the second one. And third. Because of the way the deck works, this is fiddlier than you'd imagine. Because of the way the deck works, it's quite good to have a bit of grip there. So the bands are sort of acting as a grip. So when you start the deck, you just give it a push, and then the motor, as soon as the motor gets to the point where it can actually drive the platter, it'll take over. But you need to give it that initial push. So those are for grip, but also they damp the mass of the platter as well. They just give it a bit of extra sort of deadness in the structure just to stop it ringing. But if you look at old pictures of the original Deus turntable, it had exactly the same rings on it, and all the models of Nottingham's have these rings, more or less depending on how big the platter is. I mean, in the scheme of things, this is quite a small platter for a Nottingham. The hyperspace, I think I said, is sort of up here somewhere. The Deus Nottingham Analogue turntable is similar, but it's a heavier material. And yeah, there's a couple above that as well, which one is much larger, which I've never even seen one of those. So yeah, so that's the mystery of the rings. And then the bottom two grooves there are for the drive belt. So you've got a position for the 33 and a position for 45, and it's just to keep everything level. But I'll show you that in a sec when we put the motor in. Actually, probably that's the next thing to do, is to put the motor in. Okay, so this is the motor and the pulley. And the pulley will just push onto there. Do that in a sec when it's actually on the, because you need to be quite sure that you push that on straight. This does adjust. The central part will actually push up and down, and there's a little locking thing there for it. But usually straight out of the factory, they're usually pretty well right, really. Just see if I can do this with both hands not working at once. Sort of, yeah. See the little cutout on the base, and on the side of the deck there, there's just about make out the leg at the back there. What you're trying to do is position that so roughly where the leg is. Tend to leave. Depends on the deck actually with Nottingham as to how much space you need. You can sort of move it around. Generally, I think they need about 3/4 inch gap, something like that. Because what you're trying to do, we've got the slots. Camera work. The slots for the belt. So if it's on 33, you're on the bottom. Let's check it then. 33, you're on the bottom. 45, you're on the top. So what you want is when the pulley's actually got the belt on, you want the pulley to be in line, sort of equivalent, so the belt's not going uphill or downhill. So see if I can. Actually, I'll put the camera down while I just do that. Actually, do it to the camera. Oh, managed to do that. So very carefully with the pulley, just put it on. It's just a push fit. like that. Right, let's just see if the belt's anywhere near that. To the bottom. 33 to the bottom groove. Just run it around. Bottom groove, that's the bottom groove. Right, where are we? Yeah, actually put it there straight away, that's quite good. You can see that. So the belt's in a straight line to the bottom groove, and then we had it on 45 to be aligned with this. Sometimes with Nottinghams, when you start them up, the belt will resonate. And that's usually a sign that the motor's too close. So if you just slowly move it back until you get a point where there's like an equilibrium and the belt stays stable. Very adjustable. There's very easy because nothing's attached to anything else. Everything's very easy with them really. I mean the reason for that is everything's isolated, so you get your nice big heavy base. A heavy foot plate for this which just sits on. The motor is actually sitting separately, so the transmission noise from motor to bearing is minimal, and to tone arm is minimal. Yeah, it works. It does work really well. Right, let's go and start thinking about the tone arm. Okay, let's look at fitting the arm now. What I tend to do is just fit this fairly loosely initially. Just want to double check a few things. Actually, the first thing to check, just to be sure it's come from the factory right, because this arm board is adjustable. There's a slot here. I mean, you could actually, I've never done this, but you could actually just fit an ordinary 9-inch arm to one of these, because the arm board will move right in. So there's options to do that, but generally it's designed for a 12-inch arm. This is hence 294, which is your distance from there to there. If it was a Riga, the distance from there to there would be 222. Some Lin arms 212, I think, from there to there. Testing my memory now. Just check it to go from 10. Yeah, it's spot on actually. Sorry to say 294. If it was slightly more or less than that, within a millimetre or two, it's not too bad because you can take it up in the slots on the head shell. But if it's too much out, then you never align the cartridge. So that distance is correct. Therefore, the arm board's in the right position for this tone arm. What we need to do is just slot through the cables. I'll try to. This is a one-handed job again. They're beautifully engineered, these. I mean, everything about Nottingham. They don't sort of design them to look fancy in any way. There's no glitziness about them. It's all just pure engineering. It's sort of everything's built to a tolerance, and it's all to do with the sound quality and getting that side of it right. I think we need to be a bit around there actually. I just thought there's two little adjusters on the side there. You can just tighten it down. Like I say, just do this slack for now because there is a little device there that actually just you can use as an end stop. So I'll just put the end stop down. Quite useful. Yeah, what I'm going to do, I'm going to fit the Autofon cartridge to it. But like I said, I'll just leave this slack for now because I just need to be able to get the height right and everything and move things around. So it's not going to stay quite in that position. Just realised I've forgotten to bring this dials balance up, but I can get that in a second. Okay, so yeah, so I'm going to fit this Autofon, this quintet. Quintet. Yeah, okay. It's a quintet red, so it's a fairly lowly moving coil really. It's just a good cartridge for the money. It's these do suit the Nottinghams quite well actually. I tend not to have sort of crazy cartridges out in the shop, to be honest, because obviously you don't want to get anything to get broken. But to just partly so you can listen to the turntable and hear what the turntable's doing, I tend to just have fairly budget cartridges on, and that's that's your starting point then, so it gives you an idea of what the deck's capable of. Okay, let's go and get some tools. I'll get that fitted. Okay, here we go. Just got my toolkit there. Also, this is a first for YouTube. I've actually got my glasses. Old Dad's glasses. Still with my dad's glasses from years ago. Bless him. I always have him with me. So you got this bit around here. Actually, no, let's not do that. Put this around here so I can do that. Okay, this could be a bit of forward planning. And now the phone's ringing. I'll put it at this point. There was chaos, it's just chaos. Right, yeah, we're back now. Okay, so this is a Osborne Quintet Red. Basically just a, I can't think how much these are now, but yeah, just sort of lowish end moving coil. But yeah, it's quite a nice easy fit as well, these, because they've got threaded body, so we can get that in fairly easily. He says. You should remember there is that this is on camera and things never go to plan on camera. So I'll stop talking for a second. I'll just pick the thread up again, just lightly. What I tend to do now is get the cables on, the wires on. Cables is not quite the right. It's all colour coded on the back of the cartridge, so always use a decent set of long nose pliers for this. Quite a tight fit, so you don't want to be doing this with your fingers. I've actually had a few people with Rigas who've tried to take these out with their fingers and ended up wrenching the whole wire out the tone arm, which sort of needed a complete rewire. Quite a tight fit. It's quite good to be a tight fit, but it's not always that easy to get them out again. I mean, you can open them out a little bit, but I tend not to do that. But just persuade them on. And the final one, which I've done it in the wrong order, so now I can't see what I'm doing. Obviously. There you go. This cartridges are tags on. And final bolt. The actual slots on these are a bit odd, because even though the head shell is straight, the slots are at an angle, so you have to sort of go with the front edge of the head shell and get it aligned with the cartridge. Okay, so if we just take the start go off. Oh, need to take the band off here. A little protective bit of foam. Just have a feel how much weight's on that. Yeah, just put a bit more weight on it. Just while I'm setting up, that's a bit heavy actually. Just tend to put sort of a near miss at what the weight is. Yeah, that feels about right. Okay. So everything's slack. So, ow, that was my knees if you're wondering what that noise was. Alignment protractor, so there's a slight indentation on that point there. And what you need to do just move around. What you need to do is move the arm across, put the hip position, the arm across. At this point you realise that you've not quite aligned the arm right. That's one thing I forgot to do. Just make sure you've got the travel for the arm right. Something about there I think actually. So there's 2 points there, there's 2 stops. And what I'd failed to think about was arm travel. We should be able to, yeah, full. That's why this little stop's quite useful. I adjusted that down, found the position, then adjusted that down, and it just makes it easier. A bit further possibly. Right, let's just have a look where we are alignment-wise. So we drop the stylus onto the cross. Actually, you can tell I'm actually holding my breath. Right, we're on. It's quite a good idea just to check with light of some sort, just to get a proper look. Blimey, they really want me today, don't they? Okay. Nearly there. Right, I'm back again. Hopefully I'll be alright. I don't actually realise as I was doing that I just need to check the arm height, which is way, the arm height is actually way out. You can't actually tell until you get a cartridge on it. It isn't something you can actually easily tell. So I just slacken that off now. I can actually use a little adjuster on there to drop it down. Probably needs to come down quite a way actually. Obviously there's no record on it at the moment, but yeah, a bit higher than that. Sure. Make it easy. That's crap. Because we're crossing a line, aren't we? That up a bit for a sec. Okay, there. Okay, I'll just get a record actually and just have a look at it. Yeah, that looks as though it's going to be about right with the record on. Let's do that then. Let's take the little alignment protractor off. It's actually looking quite close on alignment, but obviously if you change the height, that changes everything as well. So I'm not usually quite as haphazard as this. I'm usually a bit more on the ball, but when you're trying to think about thinking about the filming as well, it quite goes well. This is completely irrelevant to what we're talking about. Jackson C. Frank. That is a fantastic album. Bit of sad story if you read up on him. Very, very tragic life. Only made this one album. Yeah, read up on Jackson C. Frank. Not very well recorded. Not particularly, you know. Yeah, it's very, very basic recording. But if you read his story and listen to his songs, they're probably one of the most heartfelt, emotional bits of music you'll ever hear. Yeah, very, very influential folk. Folk singer. So shy that he wouldn't actually face an audience. He had to sit with his back to them. But he'd early days. When he was at school, there was an explosion, and he was badly burned, and a lot of his school friends were killed. And a lot of his songs kind of come out of that, really. I mean, he actually was given a very big payout insurance-wise for his injuries, and apparently when Paul Simon and you know, all the sort of folk musicians in London were sort of touring, a lot of the big names really, John Martins and all those sort of people, they'd be turning up in a borrowed van or a friend's car, and he would be turning up in a Bentley or an Aston Martin. Very quickly burned through all the money, and ended up living on the streets. But yeah, don't get me going about Jackson C. Frank. Anyway, this is just using a bit of Jackson just to see if we've got the height right. Yeah, particularly if you listen to the track Marlene, which is about his girlfriend who was injured, well, who died in the fire. His childhood sweetheart. It's yeah, it sounds a bit depressing, but it's actually, gosh, it's such a good album. Yeah, we're right at that. We've got the level, the army's level, so we're looking good on that. You can sort of see how the platter works with an album now. You've got a little groove there, and you can just lift out. Needless to say, this isn't an original Jackson C. Frank. The very, very first copies of that, the first press of those, are worth hundreds of pounds, which I haven't got. So right. So things all over the place. Right. Right, so we've got the alignment again. Just double check it because obviously the arm's increased in height now. So if we drop down, it should actually drop all the way now, which it wasn't before. What I tend to do is no finger lift on these. So right, we just check with the light. Spot on. How bizarre. It's absolutely spot on. Now, I'm actually quite OCD about fitting cartridges. And I will fiddle for hours, but that is absolutely spot on. Good grief. Okay. I probably will do a video on cartridge alignment. The only thing that puts me off a little bit is that people get very angry about things like alignment on forums. I'll probably get a lot of hate mail because everybody thinks they're the only ones who know how to do it, and there's no great mystery really. I think the thing to remember about alignment is that there is no protractor which is right. Every protractor is a manufacturer's or somebody's preferred alignment, because every protractor is wrong at some point and right at some point. And generally, as the arm tracks across, if you imagine, let's try to find a straight edge. The record was cut in a straight line, so that is your perfect alignment. The stylus needs to follow that straight line to be right all the time. Now, obviously, because we're working from a pivot point, the tone arm doesn't follow a straight line, it follows an arc, which is probably more like that really in reality. So the idea is that you'll find an alignment point where it'll cross the ideal tracking point twice, usually around here and around here. Not around there, around there and around there. If you go too far out, then you'll find that possibly things at end of side, the end of side, the forums nowadays go on and on and on about IGD, because they do love to have, inner groove distortion. Now, records tend to be a bit sort of prone to that because of the actual compression on the inner groove anyway, so quite often you will get a bit of distortion on end of side. If you align your cartridge so that it's absolutely spot on the last track, the amount it's out on the rest of its sweep is much increased, because to be right there it needs to be more wrong here. So most preferred alignments tend to be more centralised, so that it just is got a bit of negative there, comes to positive, crosses the line, comes to positive, and goes back to negative as it goes around. The point of a 12-inch arm is that the actual arc is reduced, so the amount of discrepancy plus minus is quite a lot less actually. You would have thought, why don't we just have linear tracking tone arms? But they have a whole host of their own issues really. Mainly rigidity. The Technics did a few that actually sounded quite good, to be fair, in the 80s. But it's very difficult to make a linear tracker rigid. Well, impossible to make a linear tracker rigid unless you spend a good chunk of money on it. I think there was one called the Air Tangent, which used an air bearing, and that was quite good. But you always had the sound of the pump in the background for the air bearing, and it was horrendously expensive. So, but at sensible money, you can't make them work. So, and they tend to, rather than go in a straight line, some of them tend to sort of do that. They sort of move along in a sort of caterpillar-y type way. Depending on how they're designed. So anyway, yeah, going off at a tangent. So cartridge fitted, everything's slack over here, so we'll tighten everything up and then just do a final check on that. Like I say, it all seems very haphazard. But I can still move that around because alignment is now right, so we can tighten that one up. Tighten this one up. Okay, just check the tracking weight. So little gauge, because these aren't calibrated at all. Turn the gauge on. You can check this quite regularly. Got a little weight you can check it with. So it's been sort of calibrated. Let's drop that on. It should be just around 2, I think. Right, showing 2.6. So I'll just drop it down a bit. Just move the weight. So it's a bit of a fiddle to do this. Actually, just need to get hold of the weight and just push it back slightly. 2. I should move that in a bit. And the depth of that is roughly the same as a record, so it's sort of giving you the right sort of reading for the height. Slightly more, I'll just stick it slightly under 2. I mean, you can run these just around and about 2, but I can find about 1.9. A little bit in. This is the OCD kicking in there. Yeah. I think it's about 4 grams now. Just moved a little. 2.1, yeah. Could be here all day. Yeah, it's not easy to get a gentle movement on it really, because it's quite damped. Really? Take a slightly far in. I think that probably. Good grief. Yeah, it is quite tricky just to get that right balance. I'm going to call that done when it comes down, because I think that'll be about 2. Actually 1.8, that'll do me. That'll do, 1.8. Now there is a bias. People insist on calling it anti-skate, but it's a bias adjustment on there. Now that's, I'm trying to think now, I think 2 grams will be the choice. You tend to put that to the same amount. You can sort of check these by listening really. Yeah, so this just slides up. There's a location points on there, so you can just see. I think that's the 2 gram mark there. Just slightly under, leave it at that. But what I'll do is, when we've got it all up and running, I'll just do a bit of a listening test and just try it. And there's a few sort of myths about setting up anti-skate. I think the word anti-skate confuses people because they think it might cause skating of the record. In fact, I had one chap who was convinced he'd bent his stylus because he had it set wrong. It's nothing like that. It's nothing like a strong force. It's just a slight sideways pressure on the stylus because of the centrifugal force of the record. It needs something to counter that, so it just gives a little bit of sideways force. I mean, I've seen people saying that you need to get a blank record and let it slide out on that. That's it. The thing with bias is that it changes across the record surface. It changes with the program of music you're listening to, the required amount. It's not a constant. And just trying to play a blank record, there's absolutely zero friction. And it's not actually telling you, watching it sliding out and trying to stop it sliding to the side. It doesn't tell you anything that really at all. It needs a bit of friction, whatever. So I tend to go by that figure, by same figure at either end, and then listen to it and just try moving it around and just see, because you can sometimes, depends how good the cartridge is actually, it's more obvious with higher end cartridges. Sometimes you'll find it'll just snap into focus a bit better. Generally with most mid-range, lower range moving magnets, you can't hear any difference. It doesn't make any odds, but people do get very worried about it. So yeah, so that's the arm set, everything's tight, height's correct, the weight's correct. Possibly the most haphazard, random setup for turn arm I've ever done, and I've got it on camera just to prove it. So that's that. So what we should be able to do now, I've got to take these glasses off. I realise I'm wearing reading glasses and I'm starting to feel a bit dizzy. I'm plugged in. Okay, so we're ready to go. So let's get Jackson Frank back. There you go. And to start, literally all it is there you go. Just give it enough of a push just to push it beyond 33, and then once the motor is up to speed, it can then keep all it does is keep the platter at that speed. Basically, this is a massive flywheel, and the flywheel is the thing that is keeping the pitch. So this is keeping the stability. So any friction from the stylus or anything like that that potentially could slow turntable down that's got a light platter, because it does happen. There's a sort of a slowing as you get dynamics. It's not going to happen with this because it's massive. I mean, there's no way you'd slow that down. And also, because it's such a small motor, you're not going to get barely going to get any transmission to motor noise. I mean, the motor is separated out completely. It's tiny, so there's hardly any noise from it, and it's never going to make its way up through to the stylus. So you get, this is why these Nottinghams have a very, very clean, sort of almost inky blackness, which is a bit of a hi-fi cliche, but the sound is extremely clear at low level. You know, the low level detail is extremely clear on them. And to stop, you just literally get hold of it and stop it. So that's how they work. Overdid it a bit then, but it slowly comes down. I mean, there's other turntables have tried to get around this in the past. I mean, Lynn had a very clever system on the Lynn Axis. They didn't do it on the Sondek, which was a bit weird, but the Axis, which was the cheaper turntable, had what it called hot start. And when you pressed the on switch, the circuit on the board gave the motor a much higher voltage to start it. And somehow, and I've never worked this out how it did it, somehow it sensed the amount of torque required. And as soon as the platter got up to speed, it dropped the voltage. So the motor would then go very, very quiet. And it was so clever that if you just touched the platter, you'd see the hot start light come back on again. So yeah, it was a really clever design. Unfortunately, most of those have died now because it was actually such a complex circuit. Very prone to cap failure. And we do see quite a few of those through, sort of rebuilt quite a few, but it's quite a big job usually. So anyway, yeah, going off on a tangent. So yeah, and other than that, yeah, you take suspension or whatever. Rig you get around it by very, very light materials. They go the other way. They go ultra light, and that's the way to stop because it's the lower frequency vibrations that can cause issues. When you bring up the mass, it gets to a point where low frequency vibrations will affect things. But if you go further than that, then you also must sort of go over the hill, and the much higher weights tend to better again. So there's that mid-range, sort of mid-mass turntables. That's why you'll find things like Sondeks and Pink Triangles and Rock Sounds or whatever, which I would say are sort of mid-mass turntables. They tend to have suspension, because that's another way of doing it, but suspension brings in all sorts of other things. As you can see, the Space Deck is actually very, very simple, although I've made a right palaver of it because it's just me being filmed. I never quite seem to do things smoothly. It's actually very simple to put together. I mean, it's literally just plonk, 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 and it's done. Align the arm. So yeah, that's all there is to them really. Bit complicated if you want to move it. You have to sort of disassemble it, move it, and then reassemble it. But once you get the feel of how they go together, it's pretty straightforward. So yeah, to play, across and drop as normal. And there we go, Jackson C. Frank. And like I say, we can't really play that because YouTube will shut us down. If anybody knows how we can actually do that, to actually have music playing off albums on YouTube videos, just let me know, because there must be a way. But because I see people doing it, but anyway. Okay, so there we go. That's the Space 294 Nottingham turntable. Hope you enjoy the video. So it's so frenetic, and yeah, it's been busy. It's actually been very busy today. So I've just darted up here to do this because I've had a few people sort of saying, "Oh, I can't wait to watch the rebuild video," and so guilt was kicking in. So I thought, I better do it today. But actually, it's been really busy. So it is literally just jumped in here, put it together, and whatever. So if it looks a little bit, like I say, it looks a bit haphazard. It's because I'm stressed. That's why. So anyway, yeah, hope you enjoyed the video, and just subscribe if you want to see some more. Give us a like. Any questions? Better to probably email us or give us a call. I'll put the details at the end of the video. Leaving messages, I can sort of, I do answer those sometimes. Which sometimes I miss them somehow. The way the software works, I sometimes miss them. So I don't want people to feel like I'm ignoring them. So yeah, thanks very much, and I'll see you soon. And just a final little comment, just to put things in perspective a little bit, because just looking at the turntable in the video probably doesn't give you any idea how big it is. I've just brought up the Planer 10 just as a comparison, and yeah, it's somewhat larger than a Planer 10. It's I don't know whether that's quite coming across, but yeah, it's seriously bigger turntable than standard. So you do need to have space for it. And obviously the planer 10's, you know, it's quite a small footprint anyway, but yeah, look at that. It is a thing of beauty, I must say. It is a thing of beauty. Yes, that's it. I'm finished now. So I'll see you again in a future video. Thank you very much.